Morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church in Springfield. For over 200 years, we have been preaching love and the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Here we don't expect to think alike, but to love alike. We invite you to join us in seeking truth and sharing love with our neighbors.
This is a reading from 365 Tao by Deng Dao, and it's called Breath. You breathe, frosting mountains white, exciting trees to verdant flame, dancing sparrows on your wing, swirling waves into long sighs. You breathe, and all things live. A central concept for Tao is breath. Without breath, there is no life. The complexity of this idea is great indeed. You breathe, that brings you oxygen. You breathe, that sustains you. You breathe, that regulates your heartbeat, feeds your brain, makes your blood red. Deeper still, you breathe, and the entire energy field of your body is sustained and set into motion. When that field, so intimately tied to breathing, is integrated with your mind, you have the power of spirituality. Breath. Don't crassly think of it as mere gas. Just as we breathe, so too does the universe breathe. In fact, we can think of the entire medium of life as breath. When the world breathes, all things are sustained. Weather moves as it should. Plants grow as they should. Animals are made strong. The very forces of geology are set into motion. And together, a mighty field of energy is generated, a much larger version of what happens in your own body. Connected to that field is a universal mind. Do you want to know how spirituality works? Breathe. Thanks for having me back again. I love sharing a little bit about what I'm learning and seeing if it resonates with anybody else. I'm here every Tuesday, right there, teaching Tai Chi. And it occurred to me that how some of these concepts that we work with in Tai Chi that are very much about movement in the body can be taken out of this room and used when we need them the most, which right now, I think we all need some stuff. So I started to dig a little deeper and make some of these connections, and my theory held true. So I want to show you some of that today and see if you can also see how some of these connections are made as well. So to start us off, I found a really lovely poem by my teacher and my friend Sue Rubel, who's also a teacher, is here today, our teacher, and one of the founders of Tai Chi Vermont. She's a writer, Ann Bauer, and shares some lovely words. And I found this poem in particular seemed to bring this concept to light, that we can take some of these ideas out of the practice space and into the rest of our life. And this poem is called Less is More. Watching others do Tai Chi, my eyes deceived me. Took an arm circling, hands punching, feet kicking, in a dance of strange harmonies, slow, graceful, a peculiar choral boxing match with phantoms. My eyes had focused on hands and feet, and not until months, no years of study, did I fully realize the body's core. That's where the power lies. Now I see it's not the big gesture, the high kick, the swift twirl, but how internal power can gently push up from small, slow, deliberate steps through the body, palms and fingers. Less is more, my teacher says. Less gesture, more focus. The wheel's hub is small, but it turns the whole rim. I think we have a song. Number 352, Find a Stillness.
352 in the gray hymnal, Find a Stillness.
Not that. Yeah, this. Chuangzi, there's a lot of stories by Chuangzi who tends to write things that get our attention. And I wanted to share this story with you. From this one in particular is from the Tao of Happiness, Stories from Chuangzi for Your Spiritual Journey. And that book's by Derek Lin. And this story is called Chaotic Currents. Confucius and his students went on a hike in the Lulang area to explore its natural beauty. Probably not unlike that lovely environment right there. They saw a waterfall from a distance, so they began walking toward it. They could see that it was huge, and its water fell from such a great height that it splashed down with tremendous force. They could hear a deep rumble and see the mist generated by the splashing torrents. Confucius remarked, "That water at the bottom of the fall is so powerful and dangerous that not even fish and turtles can get near it. That is all the more interesting because we actually think of water as their native element." When they got close enough for a better look, they were all surprised by the sight that greeted them. They saw a man in the waterfall being spun around in the ferociously churning water, whipped this way and that by the terrifying currents. "Quickly, to the rescue," Confucius commanded. "He must have fallen in by accident or perhaps on purpose. Either way, we must save him." They ran as fast as they could. A moment later, they arrived at the river downstream from the waterfall. They expected to see the man seriously injured or worse. Instead, they saw him swimming casually away from the waterfall, spreading his long hair and singing loudly, evidently having a great time. They were dumbfounded. When he got out of the river, Confucius went to speak with him. "Sir, I thought you must be some sort of supernatural being, but on closer inspection, I see you're an ordinary person. How can it be that you are not harmed by the waterfall? Do you possess some special skills?" "No, I have no special skills whatsoever," the man replied. "I simply follow the nature of the water. That's how I started with it, developed a habit of it, and derived lifelong enjoyment from it." "This follow the nature of water," Confucius asked, "can you elaborate? How exactly does one follow the nature of water?" "Well," the man said, "I don't really think about it very much. If I had to describe it, I would say that when the powerful torrents twist around me, I turn with them. If a strong current drives me down, I dive alongside it. As I do so, I'm fully aware that when we get to the riverbed, the current will reverse course and provide a strong lift upward. When this occurs, I am already anticipating it, so I rise together with it. Although the water is extremely forceful, it's also a friend that I've gotten to know over the years, so I can sense what it wants to do, and I leverage its flow without trying to manipulate it or impose my will on it." Confucius asked, "How long did it take for you to make all of this an integral part of your life?" The man said, "I really can't say. I was born in this area, so the waterfalls have always been a familiar sight to me. I grew up playing with those powerful currents, so I've always felt comfortable with them. Whatever success I have with water is simply a natural result of my lifelong habit. To be quite frank, I have no idea why this approach works so well. To me, it's just the way life is."
Or as they say, go with the flow. Would you say with me now the words of our affirmation here and on the back of your program, and for some of us up here, why are we here? Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve the needs of all beings, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with the source of our being. Thank you. You want to come up, return again? I'll tell you the meeting house singers will accompany Matt. We're gonna sing it through the four, well, we're gonna just.
Is it just us?
We sing it all the way through, and Matt, when we finish this, we'll go back to the beginning. But we sing it all the way through, and the last time we'll sing this with the second ending.
I'll just follow
Yeah.
Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your
We have another song. So I'm gonna sing it through once, and then I invite everybody to follow me and sing my part, but the Meeting House singers are gonna add a lovely descant part, so it's the Teal hymnal number 1009, Meditation on Breathing.
You're so smart, you stay.
When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in, when I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in, breathe out, I breathe out love.
Very, very nice. Thanks for all the, all that you all have to do to prepare for my ideas that I try to put down on paper. You never say no. Okay, we can do that. We can do that. There we are. So I laid down the groundwork for my idea for today, what I wanted to share with you. And what I normally do is a meditation before we get to this point in the service, but between the meditation on breathing and some of the exploration I want to do while I'm explaining some of this stuff to you so that you can experience in your body, I want to see if that works today. So my thought is that as I go through some of this stuff, we can talk about actually feeling and experiencing these ideas in your own body. And then also, ooh, how can we take this into the rest of our lives so that we can be maybe calmer, maybe a little more intent and focused and better people all around when we walk on this earth. Because I think we all need that right about now. So this is sort of the order that I want to organize myself in, give you a little bit of a definition of Tai Chi, its history, really, really brief. The specifics of the style that we practice, that Sue and I practice, and that Tai Chi Vermont teaches, and the style that's really sort of the most accessible for people. I don't want to say it's the easiest. I don't want to use that word easy, but it's the most accessible for people. The benefits of the practice, and then these active ingredients, these things that we can take from the practice space out into the rest of our lives to help support us. And then there's some upcoming opportunities in the spring for you to explore what's going on with Tai Chi, explore some different ways to play around with that. And then Sue and I are going to give you a real short demo. So what is Tai Chi? I have it here written in Chinese characters, and you also see it written as Tai Chi Chuan, Tai Chi Quan. You can see it sometimes as a pictorial with that Taoist symbol. And to translate one language into another gets a little tricky, but supreme ultimate fists are what the words translate to. Tai Chi has a background in martial arts. There are certain styles of Tai Chi that are very martial and are practiced for that use. And there are styles like the one that we practice here that really just kind of get some inspiration from martial arts, but otherwise, I don't think we're gonna go out and be taking down people. Sue would agree with me, I think, with the style that we practice. And some people often have the question, well, I've heard of Tai Chi, I've heard of Qigong, what's the difference? Are they the same thing? Some people say that Tai Chi is a style of Qigong. Qigong is really a breath work and a wellness practice. There are thousands of styles of Qigong, internal and external. And Tai Chi happens to be more of a choreographed, specific way of moving, where Qigong is a lot more about feeling. Tai Chi is about feeling too, but Tai Chi to me is a little more specific than Qigong, in case you were wondering about that. So really, really thumbnail history here. I've named a few of the most popular styles here along the bottom of this slide, from Chen to Sun, which is the style that we practice here, in terms of when they were founded or when they were practiced. Chen also being one of the styles that's quite martial in the way that it looks and its movements. And each of these styles built upon the style previous. Each of these are the last names of the founder, the founding families. It was often passed down through families, from family member to family member. It was often very secretive, and you had to have special privileges in order to learn, and you couldn't just go out and teach people. And that really changed in the 30s, when the practice started to come to the West and talked about being spread and shared instead of hidden away and secreted away. What else can I tell you? Generation to generation. Yeah, so that's I think probably all I'll share here. These styles all have aspects that creep from one to the other, but then certain aspects are left behind if they don't make sense for the style that has come as a result of that. And there are styles still being developed today. You know, there's nothing that says I can't just all of a sudden create a bunch of movements and name it after me. So it's kind of cool. I think that's kind of cool. So there we are practicing right here in the sanctuary. The specifics of the style, the Sun style Tai Chi, are a few different things. The movements are fluid and continuous. There's a real focus on shifting weight from one part of the body to the other mindfully and carefully, which is why it's always called upon for fall prevention, because it's so focused on that it works well for people who are a little unsteady on their feet. It has a little bit of a higher stance with less kicking and punching. So you may have seen photos of people crouched very low with their arms out doing Tai Chi. That's not what Sun style looks like. Sun style is much more standing upright, but still with that, you know, bent knee and relaxed stance even though you're upright. In between movements in Sun style, there are Qigong breaths. So it's really slowed down, and it's a good opportunity to regroup, which I think is useful. Again, something to take outside and out of the practice area, a moment to take a breath. And the tempo tends to be unchanging through a sequence. And this last one is really specific to Sun style. This idea of follow steps, where you make like a little kickstand with one foot and the other foot. And in that way, you're never standing on one foot for a long time, you know, making sure you don't fall over. Again, this is a good reason why this style is recommended for people who are unsteady on their feet, because you always have 2 feet on the ground. I know that sort of doesn't make sense. When you walk, you got 1 foot on the ground, but you know what I mean. When you're standing in one place, you have 2 feet on the ground and it's quite stable. And so this was actually a screenshot from one of our practices. We do record the practices here, and if you can't make it into the sanctuary, you can watch the recording and you can watch it again to practice with and that sort of thing. Comes in very handy during the winter season when we get snow. This is a little quote from a Tai Chi writing called 13 Posture Song. This is a series of instructions. It's written as a poem, and it describes 8 primary energies in your upper body and 5 in your lower body. But this idea, what is the purpose of this discipline? To lengthen one's life, extend one's years, and to give one an ageless springtime. I mean, who doesn't want that, right? Beautiful. Yes, especially when winter will not leave. Or we need some spring in our social interactions, right? When things are feeling quite heavy. So in general, the benefits of many styles of Tai Chi are similar, but again, focusing on this one style, this is just like a partial list here. This is gathered from Harvard Medical School, has collected over the years, I think since the early 2000s, hundreds and hundreds of Western clinical studies of the practice of Tai Chi, including randomized trials. And they have their own database of things going on. Dr. Paul Lamb, who you might have heard about, does specific work with Tai Chi for arthritis and also fall prevention. And all of these things have been put together into, again, these databases that the Harvard Medical School maintains. And these are just some of the benefits that folks have seen with their practice of Tai Chi. So I thought, for our purposes, the psychological well-being sticks out and sounds like something that would be really useful to us. Lower blood pressure. I know for me, when I feel my blood pressure rise, doing a practice, real short practice can bring it down. Integration of mind, body, and spirit. Again, all things that, wow, I find that when I leave my practice space, I'm in a different zone, a different place than I was when I started. So there's got to be something going on there. So the Harvard Medical School likes to call the things that they kept seeing over and over and over again during their studies active ingredients. And they say that there are 8 active ingredients that the practice of Tai Chi brings together in one practice. And this was outlined in the 2013 book by Peter Wayne, the Guide to Tai Chi, the Harvard Medical School Guide to Tai Chi. So I'm just going to step through these, and maybe we'll try some of them out, and then we'll see how we can apply them to life, to regular life. So the first one is awareness. Before we start moving at all in a practice, we think about where we are in space, where our bodies are, where our minds are, and it brings everything back into one place. I think what happens a lot of times, whether it's in practice or as we're moving through the world, is we're out here. First of all, we're up here, but we're also out here. And we need to kind of gather and bring everything back into our bodies and really assess where we're at for a moment. So let's just play with this for a minute. And we're going to be moving in and out of trying different things. So instead of doing like one long practice, I want to kind of give you little tastes of things here. So just notice where you are in your seat. Just maybe settle in a little bit. And for some people, you know, they can kind of drop into the sense of awareness easily by, say, fuzzing out their gaze or staring straight ahead. Some of us like to close our eyes. Whatever you're most comfortable with, go ahead and do that. And see if you can bring all of your awareness to your center or your core, your belly, whatever you might like to call it. And just do a little check-in. How are you feeling? You might not have even done this yet today. How's your body feeling? How's your mind feeling? If it helps to label, maybe you say, gosh, this is boring. What are we doing? Maybe you're, you know, very distracted. Maybe you're going through your grocery list. Can't forget when I leave here, I need to. Or maybe you're right here. Maybe you're just taking everything in and feeling everything. And just a quick peek at your emotional state too. Are you feeling pretty balanced today, or is something kind of tugging at you that is making your stomach churn a little bit? Nothing to change here, just notice. And one last thing to peek at is your breath. We'll get back to that, but see how your breath is moving. All right. Take a moment to come back into the space, maybe blink your eyes open, maybe roll shoulders out, whatever you need to do to bring yourself back in. So these little moments that we can take during the day to check in like that are really useful. Now, you're not going to do that when you're driving or, you know, when you're maybe in the middle of a deep conversation, but when you have a little break during your day, doing that sort of check-in can be really, really useful. And for what's going on, let's see, right now in the world, I feel like it helps me remind myself, oh yeah, that's how I feel about that situation. That's what I feel. Instead of like listening and scrolling and getting caught up, how do I feel? Let me just take a moment. How do I feel? What feels good to me in my body, and what feels, I don't like what's happening. So it's a good way to assess yourself. Intention is the next one. We use the names of animals for certain postures. I mentioned the martial arts background of Tai Chi. Sometimes we pretend that we're sparring with another partner, even though nobody's there. And just the idea that we have that we're moving through these sequence of steps. We have an intention for what we're doing. We're not just flailing our arms through practice. The internal and the externals working together. And relaxing our body and focusing on these movements can make them lighter. You know, I feel like I can watch YouTube videos of people who've been practicing a long time, and where they get this beautiful flow, you know, that comes up from years of practice, but it is also really intention, right? What they're so focused on what they're doing. And it, you know, we can't play Tai Chi, that's what we call it, playing Tai Chi. So it's not work, it's play. While we're holding our phones. That would be very distracting, first of all, but you know, it gives us an opportunity to take a break from those things. I have on my phone a mindfulness bell that goes off once an hour. And you know, it'll go off wherever I am and whatever I'm doing. It goes off at a certain time, but I take that time to take just a breath like we did a moment ago, find out where I am in the world, what's going on, and bring myself back into my body. Because like I said, we walk around very much up here and out here, and to bring ourselves back and get focused once an hour, I think is pretty good. So you might want to think about doing something like that. And that can keep us on our path for what our values are, what we think are the most important things for us. Structural integration. So there's a lot of focus on alignment of the body. I mentioned that mindful weight transference from one side to the other. And in Tai Chi, this idea of joints that are sung, it looks like the word song. And it means that your joints are open and relaxed. They're not tight or pushed to the edge or anything like that. Everything is sort of working together in this harmonious balance within your body. And there's a coordination between upper body, lower body, left side, right side, inside out. There's a lot of stuff going on in this practice. So I thought we could just give it a try again. We're gonna just kind of jump into this little practice where you were a moment ago. Center yourself in your chair again. And see now if you can bring your attention to your sit bones, the bones that are supporting you and holding you upright. And whether your back is against the back of the chair or you're actually supporting yourself, imagine the arrangement of the bones that are allowing you to do that. So imagine the bones of the spine, one on top of the other, with your beautiful crowning glory of your head on top of that. everything centered and just the way it's supposed to be on this sculpture that is you and your body. And when you find balance or center, start to tip your weight to the right on your right sit bone. And feel that weight come into the right sit bone, pouring the weight from one side to the other. The left side's getting very light, as the right side is sinking more. And then shift back the other way. You go through center, right, in the middle. And then notice as the weight pours to the other side. Not changing anything, not having any judgments come up in your body, just noticing how this feels. And now what's it like to come back to center? And maybe settling in just a bit more into your chair. And feel those joints opening from within, those sung joints. And notice how your breath supports all of that. And then come back into the room. Maybe blink your eyes open. If you closed your eyes, you can swivel your head around and take in what's around you. It's another nice practice to notice where your body is in space. We often hold ourselves in quite contorted ways to do some of the things that we do as we move through life. And coming back to a place where we can notice balance by shifting to one side and then the other to find the harmony in the center can be useful. I feel like we have a lot of opportunity to practice where things are, where the weight is in the world, where important or scary or big things are happening. And again, noticing where we are in our relation to that. And if we are to take something on, if we're to carry something, are we built enough to carry the whole thing? Or could we use a little bit of help? Hope is not a bad thing. We'll talk about that in a moment too. Strengthening and flexibility. This is a physical practice, involves movement. I mentioned slow, continuous movements. Often there's somewhat of a lowered stance. Your knees are somewhat soft. All of that builds up strength because everything's a little bit engaged. And the movements are gentle and they help increase range of motion. I just read something. I feel like, I can't remember if it was unrelated to this in particular or if it just popped up. We talk about this when I'm here occasionally too, that where you find the thing you're looking for, you find it, right? Like you open the magazine and there it is. I just read something yesterday that talked about how you can't be sad when your arms are up. There's like a physiological thing that happens when your arms are up that you can't be low or depressed. And I thought that was kind of interesting. So I'm going to kind of run that through the paces. Yeah, everybody's walking around now like this, right? So give that a try. I think that's a good one.
Your body also can't tell the difference between a fake smile and a real smile. It releases the same chemicals. Right?
So that's that whole fake it, if you're having a little bit,
that might
yeah.
be easier to do than that.
You could do both,
You can
yeah.
do both.
And then the people come and take you away. Which maybe that's a good thing with everything going on. I thought we could try this one in our seats too for a moment. I know we've played before with an energy ball. So really shortening this exercise. See if you can bring your hands to face each other. And without going through all the steps that we use to get right here, see if you can notice a little bit of relationship between your two hands. You can move them out a little bit, sort of like taffy, move them out a little bit and in, and see if you can notice the edges of where you feel as if there's a ball there. And I just find that this is a cool thing. Now, stay with me. So Tai Chi, a lot of imagination and things that can happen in Tai Chi practice that couldn't happen in real life. So you've got your energy ball, but now turn it like now you have like a big beach ball. So you're kind of supporting a big soft ball from like the bottom. And using what we learned about weight transference a minute or so ago, see if you can sort of push the ball forward off your fingertips and then take the ball back into your hands. You don't have to worry about the ball falling or knocking off of the person's head in front of you or any of that stuff, but see if you can notice the sensation of resistance, a little bit of resistance in your hands and a little bit of flow. And maybe you're rocking forward and back on your sit bones just a little bit. And this is usually when I do this is when I want to fall asleep because it's so relaxing. It sort of feels like ocean waves, like you're embodying an ocean wave. Yeah, really nice. And then let's turn hands toward each other again for that energy ball. And then it's always polite to your energy ball to not just let it evaporate because you did some nice work there. You could put it right back in your belly because that's where your energy originates, right in your belly. And imagine your body going and sucking that energy back in. So this is the kind of thing, I mean, that was not like you were lifting 50 pounds, right? But you are moving against and moving with resistance in that way during practice. And if you felt relaxed, that's exactly what Tai Chi can do for you, really bring you into that state of settling into your body that can be really useful, I think, to us right now. And again, even if you want to play with some of that, maybe not while you're walking down the street or driving, or maybe it's not something you would do in public, but yeah, if you can take a little break and you know you can do this while you're seated, but it's even nicer standing if that works for you. Safety. In Sun style, gentle movements, they're slow. People are always encouraged to stay within their comfort zone and to make any adjustments to suit their abilities. And this idea of safety, I feel like we're using this daily lately because we're thinking a lot about where our boundaries are. You know, that's okay. That's okay. Nope, that's too much. You did too much right there. I'm not comfortable with that. You know what? I'm really not comfortable. And now I'm going to speak out and say something about that. And I feel like we're being called upon to decide this is a non-negotiable. I let you have that. That one I'm not going to let you have. This cause, I can let somebody else take up that cause. This one I want to talk about. So I find that interesting that these ideas of where we're feeling our feet under us, it's coming up again and again. Natural freer breathing. We are still talking about Tai Chi, believe it or not. So meaningful, mindful breathing oxygenates your whole system, boosts your mood, assists with your balance. And then it can also lead to better breathing when you're not practicing. You're actually teaching your body how to support itself when you're not even practicing at all, which I think is pretty cool. And that connects with those slow, continuous movements. I don't know if you noticed when we were doing this practice, if your breath started to slow down and get more, find more of a flow and maybe a little bit deeper. Pretty cool how those two systems talk to each other. Goes both ways, like you were talking about with the smile. Your body learns from your breath and your breath learns from your body. And the thing about breath is it's a cycle or a circle that never ends. Some of the things that are challenging currently in life are big changes that we feel like we have no control over. And knowing that our breath is always there to support us and is always changing. It's a change that always happens, but that is a positive one. So there can be changes that are positive as well. So finding comfort in the small things, without breath, we wouldn't be here, can be useful when you're feeling unmoored. And social support. We practice together here in the sanctuary. I mentioned practicing also on Zoom. If folks can't join us in person, they can still feel like they're a part of the group. And even the recording, when we practice here, we make an effort to say hello to the people on the recording who aren't there, who are joining us across time and space. And so we do still feel like a community when we physically can't be together. Think again, you all here did such a great job of that during COVID, and we learned. It was hard. We thought we couldn't do it. We did it, and we can still build upon all those systems that we put into place during COVID. So that's a pretty cool thing. And the practicing with other people. And you might notice this just from the community here, that we build on each other's strength and support just by physically being with each other. So not only do we feel connection within our own bodies, but with our fellow practitioners, people who maybe disagree with us. Like, you can take it that far. Once you learn how to do it with people that you get along with, can you do it with the next step? Embodied spirituality. Tai Chi can be a philosophy that leads to spiritual awareness, and it can help lift and bolster your mood. Again, I know a lot of that is what keeps you all coming back here as well. And, you know, once again, if you check in with your body, notice where your values are, what's important to you, what your philosophies are, and then bringing those and carrying those with you as you make decisions. When you need to make decisions quickly, can be quite useful. Walking your walk. And then finally, active relaxation. Tai Chi and other practices have been called meditation in motion, with good reason. Even standing up, we can feel those meditative qualities of the movement. So I think this will probably be the one last thing that I have you try. Just notice while you're sitting here, any place that you might be holding tension. That could be in your face. It could be in a particular body part. Maybe you notice your shoulders hiked up really high, or maybe you notice that there's gripping in your seat. And see if you can soften that tension 5%. You don't have to let it go all the way, but see if you can just soften it a little bit. And maybe by sending a little bit of breath there, that can help melt the muscles that are holding on so tight. And then see if you can maintain that. That's the hard part. See if you can maintain that as you come back into the room. It can be hard to let go of tension completely. Some of us might fall into a puddle if we're going to do that. So we need a little bit of tension. But again, nice little practice to do as you check in, little 30-second check-in with yourself as you move through your day, bringing this practice out of the practice space. Our society is overly young, overly tense and dynamic, and wants to move and all of that. And if we can bring a little of the softness, a little bit of the yin to that, we move toward that place of harmony. All right, so I wanted to share this with you now while this is still up on the screen. So these are some things that are happening this spring. Again, free weekly Tai Chi goes through May 27th right here on Tuesdays from 10 to 11. It's recorded. You can also join on Zoom. April 26th, always the last Saturday in April is World Tai Chi and Qigong Day. This is pretty cool. All across the world at 10 a.m. in the local time zone, folks get together and do Tai Chi. And the idea, it's sort of like that rolling New Year's Eve celebration. It sort of feels like that. And this celebration, our local celebration, is happening in White River Junction at Lyman Park, right in the center of White River, under the bandstand. 10 to really about 11:30 on that Saturday. There'll be refreshments, and it's an opportunity to just play and try and see what all this is all about. The Tai Chi that we're doing here, folks can always jump in and join. You don't need to have any experience, and it's the same thing for Tai Chi and Qigong Day. We're also gonna have somebody doing a sword drawing demonstration, and Anne is probably gonna be doing her fan demonstration. There's some pretty cool things just to watch and take in, and it should be quite colorful, lovely spring. We're gonna hope for good weather, outdoor celebration. And then again, right here, May 2nd, Friday, 1:30 to 3 o'clock, we're gonna be doing a 5-element deep dive into wood. I've been here to talk about that before, the spring season of wood, what that means. And this is gonna share some practices, breathing practices and movement practices. Yeah,
What day of the week is May 2nd?
it's a Friday.
Right.
Yep. Yep, and that also will be recorded. You can join on Zoom. You don't have to be here, all the stuff. Again, if I can take advantage of your lovely Zoom setup, I will, because it's just so so easy to use. So those are some things that are happening this spring. And then Sue and I wanted to do a little demo to show you, this is level 3. We're just gonna do level 3. Oh, I don't want to shut this. Let me stop sharing. The level 3 is what we're working on here on Tuesdays. And I wanted to show you what it also looked like seated, because the whole thing can be done seated. If you have an injury for whatever reason, you're not up and mobile, that you can do this practice seated. And Sue's gonna demo it standing. Oh, yeah. I feel like I want to be on your right after. That's how we practice. Tina, I'm taking your chair. Look at it. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Hi. This is Sue Rubel. Sue teaches at the Great Hall.
And she taught here before COVID and into COVID a bit. Yes. So.
And you're teaching fall prevention Tai Chi and Sun
Yeah.
style, Sun
Yeah.
73.
We're
Which,
both Sun style.
Right.
One is short form and I have an advanced class that kicks better than I do.
you can always learn from each other, right?
Right.
All right, so we're gonna do, again, just level 3. So thanks for. I love seeing people practice too, wonderful. So I'll leave this here for a second, so.
I wanted to ask,
Yes.
you were demonstrating people that could just sit,
Mhm.
and then you were doing the upright.
Mhm. And so, you know, some people say, oh, the seated, it's easy. Let me tell you, because it's a lot of, you have to stay very, very present. I luckily had somebody next to me keeping, you know, I could look at her in my peripheral and see what's going on, but you really have to know and remember exactly where you are because you don't have your feet to rely on. You can add your feet to it, but
Right.
you don't have to.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the whole thing can be done seated. But I hope that, you know, we were showing you exactly what the Tai Chi movements are. I hope this idea of, you know, how you can take some of these concepts out of here and help with other things you might have going on. I hope that sort of makes sense for you. I had a lovely conversation with one of my students Tuesday, and she said, I need to be here. I need to come and do this thing for an hour, and I need to practice every once in a while when I can to, you know, help clear the whole thing out up here. And I think we all get that. And the social thing, as I mentioned too, really useful. So thanks for your attention. Thanks for playing. And yeah, I think we have more good music.
We do, in the great hymnal number 311, Let It Be a Dance.
What number?
311. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you. Through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Let a dancing song be heard. May the music say the words and fill the sky with sailing birds. Let it be a dance, let it be a dance, let it be a dance. Learn to follow, learn to lead. Feel the rhythm, feel the need. During the harvest and the seed. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you. Through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Everybody turn and spin. Let your body learn to bend. And like a willow with the wind. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. A child is born, the old must die. A time for joy, a time to cry. Take it as it passes by. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you. Through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Morning star comes out at night. Without the darkness there is no light. And if nothing's wrong then nothing's right. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let the sunshine, let it rain. Share the laughter, clear the pain. And round we go again. Let it be a dance.
That was fun. Thank you.
That's one of my favorites.
That's a good one. Thank you singers too for leading us. So, yeah, I probably said enough, but I'm gonna just share this last selection with you from the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu. This is chapter 22 to send you off. Yield and overcome, bend and be straight, empty and be full, wear out and be new, have little and gain, have much and be confused. Therefore, the wise embrace the one and set an example to all. Not putting on a display, they shine forth. Not justifying themselves, they are distinguished. Not boasting, they receive recognition. Not bragging, they never falter. They do not quarrel, so no one quarrels with them. Therefore, the ancients say, yield and overcome. Is that an empty saying? Be really whole, and all things will come to you.